We are back. New York City baseball, past, present, and future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network. The co-hosts are Marty Rose and Robert Deininger. Marty is not here for good reason. He's visiting his brand new granddaughter up in Virginia. He's in Florida these days, and he'll be back next week. But Robert Deininger is with us. Oh, great Yankee fan. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I can't complain at all. Things are humming along. Both the Yankees and the Mets, but let's talk about the Yankees first. Have very interesting starts to their season.
Yeah.
And to say the least.
Yeah.
I just want to say, in case I forget, that Travis d'Arnaud is coming into his own, even defensively a little bit for the Mets. And I've said some bad things about him. I thought that it was time to move on. And he may be proving me wrong, which would be terrific.
Yeah.
But this is a Yankee show primarily today because the Yankees are beyond what I thought they'd be at this time in the year. What do you attribute that to? What do you attribute the fast start to?
The pitching has turned it around. The starting pitching, the last several games, they've actually been pitching into the 6th and 7th innings. I mean, Pineda looked fantastic his last outing, and CeCe, I told you before we'd be lucky to get 5 out of him, but he's off to a fantastic start.
Is this his last contract year?
Yeah, I think this is he's in a contract year.
Okay, so that always explains it, and that's
yeah,
very, very depressing for me on some levels. Guy gives you 3 very mediocre years, and now pops up. He's going to get a payday again, and I don't know. It's just the business of baseball, the way things are. But as a Yankee apologist, let me put it to you that way, what I am, I like it when the Yankees and Mets are both doing well, and the Subway Series are exciting, and there's a chance at times when they can play in the World Series against each other. And as far as I'm concerned, that brings back memories of my childhood days when there were a lot of Subway Series going on for years and years. Dodgers, Brooklyn,
Giants,
Yankees. Giants never. Giants against the Yankees in '51. My first year following it when I was a kid, or going out to the ballpark anyway with my grandfather. And the Yankees ended up winning that World Series after the Giants played that playoff game where Bobby Thompson hit the shot heard round the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, while I have you and somebody to jabber to about my past memories, that series was very significant because for a number of reasons, not the least of which 3 blacks played in the outfield, African Americans. They were called colored then. They were called worse. In the newspapers, they were called worse. Don Mueller had broken his ankle in the playoffs, and Hank Thompson went to play right field. I don't remember right offhand who they played at third base, if it was who it was, but it might have been Bobby Thompson, as a matter of fact. Bobby Thompson went to third. Hank Thompson was in right. Willie Mays and Monty Irvin, the other 2 blacks in the outfield, It's the first time three blacks ever played in the same outfield, and it was in the World Series.
How about that?
Against the Yankees. So, wow. That's my thing on Subway Series, and maybe we could have one again before too long. I think this year seems a little early for the Yankees, but
yeah,
you never know. I'll tell you. Tell me what you think of Judge and Hicks and their situation in right field. Bird doing well.
Well, Paul Neal made a great point about Aaron Judge. I think I might have told you this. He's going to strike out, but as long as he's swinging aggressively at good pitches, he'll make things happen. And so far this year, he's doing just that. I think he had a home run in 3 straight games. He's really hitting the ball well. He's doing a lot better out of the gate than I thought he would. I thought out of the main 3, Bird, Sanchez, and Judge, I thought Judge would be the one to struggle, but so far it's been Bird. But I really like what I've seen of Judge so far.
Sanchez gets hurt. How long is he projected to be out?
Well, they say he should be back in uniform in 4 weeks, and that's going back a week.
Okay. Is that when you say back in uniform, or are we talking going out?
Yeah, well,
rehab?
they asked Joe if that's 4 weeks before he can start baseball activities, or 4 weeks and he's back playing. And Girardi said no, he'll be back playing in 4 weeks. So that's good news in a way.
Yeah, and it's good that it happens early in the season if it's going to happen.
Yeah, and Austin Romine, he's actually been calling a really great game behind home plate, and whatever offense you get from him is a plus.
And you're getting the little guy at shortstop. Tell me about him.
Yeah.
He's filling in for Didi and doing a hell of a job.
Yeah, and I told you I thought Tyler Wade would get the spot, but Joe went with him, and actually he's like the spark plug. I mean, I think he still leads the team in RBIs or at least tied with the team in RBIs with 8 with Judge. He filled in perfectly.
Yeah. I like Girardi as a manager now. It didn't start out. I thought it would be better if Girardi were in Chicago and Piniella were in New York. I thought maybe they'd trade managers early on.
I wasn't happy when they signed. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, when Torrey resigned, I was kind of rooting for Don Mattingly,
right.
and Joe, he went over Cashman because he's more into the analytics side of baseball than Mattingly was at the time. But Joe's grown on me. I've grown to like him.
Yeah, he keeps things loose. He doesn't seem like he's tense and I go back with Yankee managers when there was some real intensity in the dugout. Even the guys that took over for Billy Martin had to be intense. Bob Lemon and Hauser and all those guys. And Girardi seems to be handling New York in a way he's used to it. Do you think he'll be extended? What's your opinion?
I think so. I think if he does, it'll be for a couple of years, for 2 years. Because I'm interested to see what the Yankees do after the 2018 season when there's a load of free agents out there and what kind of direction they're going to go.
Well, they may be going in a direction where they're building from within. This is the first time that I can remember where they've been so heavily laden with prospects. It did so well in the Chapman and the Miller deals last year that they seem to be in good stead.
And that's the thing. Girardi is supposed to be well known for his ability to coach up young players. So the next 2 years will be big to see if he can bring some of these guys along.
Yeah, or see if they match. You know, if the expectations of what the team will be like 2 years come true. You know, rookies are rookies. A lot of them fizzle out.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. I want to talk a little Mets for a few minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
The pitching staff seems to be holding up pretty well.
Yeah, so far so good.
A little tweak with Harvey, some fingernail problems and blister problems with Syndergaard, true, but they're getting much more out of Wheeler. Wheeler had a tremendous outing. I think he goes tonight again, if I'm not mistaken. And Matt seems to be recovering. I like that they're staying much more healthy than in years past. So
yeah, Wheeler's 1-1 on the year so far.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was asking if Wheeler's 1-1 on the year so far. I know he had a great outing his last outing.
Yeah, followed that up as Pineda did with a horrible first start. Pineda.
Yeah. He pitched, I think.
Followed that up with a great second start. So
yeah.
We'll see. The fact that Wheeler hasn't pitched in a long time. Just that he, wiping off some rust and no.
Once he gets in a groove, he should be very impressive this year. I mean, he's one of the better pitchers on the Mets staff too. It's just like you said, no one's seen him in a while.
When he was injured for so long, people almost forgot how he was much more ahead of the others when he got hurt. All but maybe Syndergaard. But, it's nice having him back. It's going to be good to get Familia back in the bullpen in a few more months. He went out on some rehab. I think he pitched in Port St. Lucie, their A team. It might have been, but he had some extended mound time, and he was overpowering. That was the report, and that makes him deeper all the way down the bullpen.
And did I hear David Wright? Did I hear that David Wright's is starting baseball activities?
I think he is a little bit, but I'm trying not to, for the fourth time, get really excited about his return.
Yeah. Because Jose Reyes is really struggling at third.
He's not
right. At least at the plate.
They need him now, and I don't want to expect him to come back, but wouldn't it be nice? It really would. One way or the other, they need to give Reyes more of a blow than they've been giving him. Flores is a blessing. Thank God he can fit in 3 different infield positions, terrific off the bench, hits lefties like a champ. We're very deep, and with the weak link, unfortunately, being third base, as it's been so many times for the Mets over the years, from Don Zimmer on down.
And Jonas
the first one.
I mean that guy is just. The Mets must be so happy he re-signed with them.
Who's that? Reyes, you mean?
Jonas Septis.
Oh, are you kidding? Wow. Although he had a game the other day that was very, very strange. He, in one inning, did not get back to the base he didn't slide back in on pickoff attempts, and he didn't slide in and was tagged out at the plate. And it forced extra innings, which ate up the bullpen. And, for a superstar who's hitting 3 home runs on 2 separate occasions in a year and a half that he's with the Mets, and tremendous arm and a great talent, I'd like to see him do the little things that go into winning games. Oftentimes as often, that's a great one. Oftentimes as important as the big bop. The little things win games, and then he was benched the next game, and Collins said, well, he's very sick, he did this, that, and the other thing, played all innings. I'm willing to bet that Collins just said, you're not playing tomorrow. You hit 2 home runs, but you did that. It really set the team back for the rest of the week. And they ended up losing 3 games, getting good outings by their starting staff. Syndergaard, DeGrom, I don't know who started the 3rd game, but the bullpen faltered, and it was as a direct result of that extra inning game that fortunately they won. So that's my piece on Cespedes. But my God, what a slugger. He could hit home runs this year.
Yeah. Cespedes, it sounds like Yasiel Puig, right? Yasiel, for the Dodgers.
Right, except much more power, and Cespedes has already put together 4 or 5 really good years in the bigs.
Yeah.
Started with Oakland. That was a financial mess with Oakland. It always has been at that point. And things will be better. They're going to get a stadium, but at that point, it was. He went on to Detroit and won a Gold Glove. We could be seeing something very, very special in New York. I don't think anybody's hit 50 home runs for the Mets yet, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to go back. Remember Dale Murphy? Oh, no, not Dale Murphy. Dave Kigman.
Oh, yeah.
He was with the Mets years ago, right? But he never hit 50, but he was a power hitter.
Oh, to the extreme. And when he came up with the Giants in 71. He was a pitcher at USC and was a terrific athlete. He was fast as can be, going from first to third. I mean, he'd get into this long gait and really go. And he became kind of an enigmatic soul. He just didn't seem to fit in a lot of places, but hit a lot of home runs for the Cubs, hit a lot of home runs for the Mets, and even played a little with your Yankees, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So maybe we will see a home run record broken. They already, as a team, broke the team home run record last year. And little blessing come back. Will you stay healthy by right? Could where he stays healthy, that would be much needed help. And then you can make Reyes a super utility man, and then you have Reyes and my mind blank, and Flores in the infield. And guess who's doing well off the bench? Much to my surprise. I thought he would need some seasoning. I thought it would be better if he got some at-bats as Conforto. He's doing marvelously. Flores is back, and I'm feeling good about the Mets. And I say that they lost 3 games in a row. They weren't blown away.
No. I do like the Marlins in that division, too. I think
the Marlins, Yelich and Stanton, they just killed them over the last 3 days.
It's just the Marlins have no bullpen. That's the only problem. They just no bullpen and shoddy starting pitching. But I really do like what Mattingly's doing there.
Well, they're coming back. It'll be a slow comeback. You don't lose 5-year-old 22-game winner.
No.
And come back. You can't be prepared as an organization to replace him under any circumstances. It's going to
not at all. No.
Come back, and I never liked the Marlins. I have to tell you, but I feel sorry for them as an organization.
Yeah.
And just the kid died, for crying out loud.
Yeah, it's just tragic. 24 years old.
You know, that's something that baseball needs to address. They need to get with the players' union and make it a bipartisan thing to address taking care of young kids that have money thrown at them.
Yeah.
Some who were impoverished, come from almost impoverished backgrounds, and you're given everything but the ability to handle the money, handle the drugs, handle the women, handle the alcohol.
And that was the Dodgers. Yasiel Puig's biggest problem was growing up just dirt poor, and then all of a sudden having all the money, and his baseball career started taking a nosedive. And they had to send him to the minors last year. It does have a big effect on some players.
He seems to be coming out of it, though. He's off to a terrific start. And I like Latin players who do well because I can appreciate what it takes. Oftentimes, they're not only Latin and learning a new language, but they're blacks as well. And they're not necessarily taken in by African Americans, and the racist attitude in this country, I mean, it's much more covert than it was in the 40s and 50s when they brought up Jackie and they put all the people that followed him through hell, Frank Robinson in the minors, Vada Pinson. They had to go through so much. It's not as overt as it was, but there's certainly a lot of covert racism, and they play in the minors, and they're learning a new language, and I especially admire the Cubans, given that their situation is made worse by the fact that they're cut off from their families, or at least that's improving a little bit, but it's been tough for them in the past. And again, like Cespedes, we get back to him. He drove a brand new car. It wasn't this spring training.
And every day, right?
Yeah. I mean, he drove cars that cost more than my family will ever earn in a lifetime. One a week, one a day. That kind of thing. So where their minds are, you get the bling and the rest of it. And, they can't, at their age, be faulted. There needs to be some responsibility taken by the powers that be. And Dennis Rodman, when he signed with the Chicago Bulls, the Bulls' accountant actually took control of his money just so he wouldn't blow it. They made sure his bills got paid and that he had some cash on him every month. Well, sometimes the player themselves doesn't allow that, and the player's agent
True.
doesn't allow that. So,
True.
but
Yeah.
but that's a nice thing. Although I did read some little trashy article that Facebook directed me to about 30 NBA players, Rodman amongst them, who are and broke as can be. Bad investments, ripped off by agents, hangers-on, drugs, wives, ex-wives, kids to support, this, that, and the other thing. But then you say, well, you could do that with $1 million, let alone $50 million that these guys go through. You know, there's an excess of money that, I'll tell you what they should do. They should automatically withhold these multi-million-dollar contracts. We're just going to withhold $1 million or $2 million or whatever until you're 65, or until you know.
The smarter athletes wait until their career is over to get married.
Well, that's you don't have to be an athlete to be smart for that reason. Or, that would have been nice, huh? For the smart ones. Jeter, as an example, did that. So he got married. For whatever that's worth.
Oh, yeah, and
well, never mind. Go ahead.
The Yankees, their pitching is ranked number 5. And their offense right now is ranked number 14th.
Whoa.
Which the pitching being ranked 5 was the biggest surprise to me. And of course their bullpen is, I think, up there number 1 or number 2, or at least in the top 5.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned Jeter, or I mentioned Jeter. Sometimes I'm one of those people that just got to say what's on my mind. Jeter was so enamored by the voice of
Sterling Shepard. Bob Shepard.
Who would introduce him, now batting number 2, Gary Jeter, blah, 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 blah. I wish he would have gone to Bob Shepard's funeral.
He didn't go?
He didn't go. No Yankees went to Bob Shepard's
Wow.
funeral. Wow. And it isn't... not so much him. He should have gone. Not so much that the Yankees didn't go, and again, he should have gone.
Yeah.
But it's the times that we live in that these players are so shielded from reality, so shielded from humanity, that that nobody showed to the guy's funeral. Here's a guy that started in 1951. Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, number 6, Mickey Mantle. Probably did say at one time, because yesterday was the anniversary of Mickey Mantle's Major League debut. Wearing number 6. So,
he hated that number too.
I don't know. I know that it had something to do with when they farmed him out. He came back with a fresh start, and I think a woman that he was dating wanted him to wear number 7 or whatever it was. But Cliff Mace was the last guy to wear 7 before Mickey Mantle.
He felt like Babe Ruth was 3, Garrick 4, DiMaggio 5, and he felt like he was, they were making him out to be the next, Joe DiMaggio, and he hated that.
Yeah, which they were. They were not.
Yeah.
There were a lot of expectations, and he wasn't popular for a long time in New York.
Yeah, that's what my father told me.
Yeah, he got booed an awful lot. But when they fell in love with him, man, wow. if you want to treat yourself, and not just you, all Yankee fans listening to this, all baseball fans listening to this, his retirement in Yankee Stadium when they brought everybody back. Everybody was alive back then. All the players he played with from early, Gil McDougall, everybody was out there. And they cheered for him. Yankees, it's on YouTube. They must have cheered for him for 12 straight minutes. I mean,
I love that speech he gave when he referenced Lou Gehrig, when he often wondered how a man who knew who he was dying could consider himself the greatest man on the planet. And then he says, I finally understand, recognizing the fans. I thought that was just beautiful.
I love his plaque. All he wanted to be, he was a great teammate.
Yeah.
That's all. And, he had his demons, no question about that. A lot of them brought on by the fact that the male members of his family weren't living past 40.
Yeah.
They all were in the mines, in the coal mines of Oklahoma, and they all got they got a lot of them Hodgkin's disease and this, that, and the other thing, which was brought on by their working conditions. And he never he had that joke, the little joke is an old joke, but he'd say, if I knew I was going to live this long, I'd have taken better care of myself. And
didn't he, on his way to the hospital after he blew out his knee, he was leaning on his father, and his father collapsed. And that's how he learned his father had Hodgkin's or something like that, right? If I'm not mistaken.
They shared a hospital together. Literally, his father's bones were disintegrating. Horrible, and a number of his kids have gone through that thing. He had twin brothers that played ball, and one or two of them, I think both of them, have gone. So, I can't think of a less pleasant way to end the show. But we remember the Mick.
Yeah.
And thank you, Robert. This
and one more thing about Mickey Mantle. Bobby Cox, who was on the Yankees in Mantle's last year, said even though Mantle could barely run the bases, was still their best hitter on the team.
Right.
The year he retired.
He didn't think so either. He's one of those guys who was so disappointed at finishing 298.
Yeah.
Rather than 300. And the way I heard him say that, he said on an interview, I remember hearing, he said, I always considered myself a 300 hitter.
Yeah.
And those were the days when
that really, really matters.
Yeah. So I'm sorry he didn't quit sooner in a way where he could have had the 300. But and then how baseball smacked he and Willie in the face. Bowie Kuhn, soon after he retired, he became a first base coach with the Yankees. He and Ellie would rotate inning by inning at first base for a while. And Kuhn says that Willie and the Mick, who were both hired as greeters in Vegas, have drinks with people, talk to people at the party, it's all you do is Mickey. And because that was so hard for the baseball. Couldn't have gambling, couldn't have anything like that. So hypocritical as well because the owners are horse racing owners and this, that, and the other thing. But they basically suspended Mantle, who and Mays, who had good-paying jobs, given everything. Remember, these people didn't make money. They didn't make money in free agency. They made good money, don't get me wrong. $100,000 a year back then was good money.
Yeah.
But $50 million isn't good money. $50 million is great money.
Yeah.
There's a big difference. If you stop to think what inflation has done to all of us over the period of time, where what has it gone 10 times? It costs you 10 times more to get your dry cleaning done than it did back then. 10 times more for medicine, 10 times more for this, that, and the other. But the salaries have gone absolutely, 10 is 1,000 times more. So the sad thing is, many of the players have rightfully become bitter.
Yeah.
And it's good. But being bitter doesn't help them. If you have that kind of attitude, it's not going to serve you to go through. Like Bob Feller was that way. You just, always complaining about salaries and this, players, what they're making today. Mays is that way. Mantle wasn't. And Mantle was what people call a happy drunk. He had his demons, but, he loved people. He loved his teammates. He was a great guy. And, maybe
a lot of
the Yankees and the other teams will do something for the young players in his memory to have it turn out better for them.
And I was going to say, a lot of those players back in the day, they had to work in the off season just to make ends meet. Back in the 30s and 40s.
Yep.
Even into the 50s.
And there was a book written by Bart Giamatti, I think, wrote a book, or one of the ex-commissioners said, chronicalizing these players that played before the Union. And the name of the book was We'd Have Played the Game for Nothing, which implies that, it was great to play. It was great to be owned and indentured like those players were. Not so. They were always fighting for a union. They were always bitter that Hank Sauer, for instance, who turned out to be a terrific slugger, played behind Lou Gehrig he was in the minors, and Gehrig was the first baseman. When Sauer was first, he wasn't going to come up and be a Yankee first baseman, yet the Yankees owned his contract. They ended up selling him or trading him to Cincinnati, but he didn't have a choice. And he or any of the other players back in those days, you signed with a team, you were their property, and you could not play it out. And those guys wouldn't have played for nothing. They were trying to support their family. And yes, they had to work in the off season. And yes, the raises that they were offered by the Yankees, for instance, George Weiss, after Mantle's Triple Crown year, he came back with another terrific year, MVP year, this, that, and the other thing, and George Weiss gave him a pay cut. He offered him a pay cut. He had to hold out to come back to where he was the previous year. And so, all Weiss was doing was representing the owner's stinginess, and because they could, and only when the change only happens when they're threatened, when baseball is threatened by losing their antitrust. That's when change happens. When the steroid issue came out, it was Congress that got them to at least acknowledge that there were steroids, and to try to do something about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, chemists are always one step ahead. But that notwithstanding, and that has to gall you a little bit where you have Congress, like, oh, Congress is so sanctimonious that they're going to judge another industry for crying out loud. Look at Congress and themselves.
Their 17% approval rating.
Right, that's right. Like, are they going to judge? Have they taken enough money? We can't make that judgment on steroids because we have meetings with lobbyists. We have to collect a lot of money today from the tobacco industry, from the alcohol industry, from the gun industry. We don't have time for baseball today. Can you put that off for another day, Mr. Clemens? You'll be back. Oh, by the way, Mr. Clemens, can we have some autographs?
Yeah, they were taking pictures with them.
Right.
Yeah.
What a joke society.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
And the thing is,
you have teachers making almost the minimum wage. Not minimum wage, but not enough to live on.
Nowhere near enough.
Teachers that teach your kids.
My sister-in-law is a teacher, and I feel for teachers. But I was going to say about Bud Selig in '94 when we had that baseball strike, and all of a sudden afterwards we started seeing home runs, and I think he turned a blind eye to it because fans were coming back in a hurry to see McGuire and Socha and all them.
Absolutely did. They
he
had absolutely no testing for an awful long time. They had no control, and not that he turned a blind, the owners turned blind eyes.
Yeah.
And the dog and pony show with Bonds, where they bring Bonds out there with this kid, and they didn't do it. And it's clear. I had no idea what it was. Can you imagine a world-class athlete ingesting anything into themselves that they didn't know exactly what it was? I can't imagine that.
Neither can I.
It's not like a horse. A horse can be doped. Yeah, it has to be consensual with the player.
And then they had that list of 120 athletes that weren't going to be named, but all of a sudden A-Rod's name got somehow got mentioned, and I think Selig was looking to put a face on steroids. I mean, I could be way off base on this, but I think before Selig wanted to go, he wanted to put a face on steroids in baseball, or at least somebody did. Because I found it strange.
Well, I found it strange is that it was. You think, well, the hitters, that's why they're hitting so many home runs. It's the pitchers too. Pitchers are using it for recovery time. So the playing field wasn't as unbalanced as as it was made out to be, because both pitchers and players, position players, hitters, were using. And
even Andy Pettitte got popped.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it was with Rodriguez, though, and with Bonds, why they will never be loved. They will because they didn't cop to it.
No.
Giambi, for instance, another Yankee who freely admitted that that's what he did, is now beloved again. Goes to Yankee functions and cheered by the crowds and this, that, and the other thing. America's a very forgiving country.
Yeah.
But you have to show them that you want to be forgiven, and that's what.
And it's got to be sincere too. It has to be sincere.
Right. Even if it's not sincere, be sincere. They tell you. Sincere. Yes, it does have to be, and it can't be lie after lie like with Pete Rose.
Yeah, and A-Rod, he kept digging himself a hole.
To be inducted. It would have been time for Shoeless Joe Jackson to be inducted.
God, yes. Yeah. And Pete Rose is going to be
the guy was a hick. He didn't know what was going on. If you look at his numbers, he wasn't throwing any World Series. If you look at
he was the only one to bat over 300 in that 1919 World Series.
Right.
You know?
Yet they
and the only one to hit a home run.
And maybe he did take some money, and he was a go-along to get along kind of guy.
Yeah.
But he really didn't know what the hell he was doing, and that's it.
He was illiterate too, right? Shoeless Joe.
I don't know. I'm not going to cast judgments on that. If you see my penmanship, and if you try to edit my stuff, I can't cast judgment on another illiterate man. But there's a lot of inequities in this here world, and baseball's a microcosm of life. Or Robert, is it that life's a microcosm of baseball? Which is it?
I'd go with the microcosm of baseball.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Good show, my friend. We'll do it again next week, same time, same back channel. We'll have Mert back in his usual co-hosting position.
Okay, it was nice talking to you, Ralph.
Always nice talking to you, sir. And for those of you out there, just keep on keeping on. We'll be back before you know it. Adios.